Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday webinar. I'm really, really excited about this evening because we have a very special guest with us and a very dear friend of mine, Elena Yordan, and she is our team's actually first and newest Blue Diamond team leader, which is a tremendous accomplishment, and I will let her share with you her journey. I don't want to give any of it away, but I also want to give you some of her background. She's certainly a dynamic woman. She's part of the sandwich generation. She takes care of both her mother and her two children. And of course, she's also a loving and devoted wife to her husband, Jose. They have two beautiful, amazing kids, one in college and one in high school. She has a very substantial background in finance and banking and left a tremendous career there to branch off and join the doTERRA world and take that experience of really creating a healthy financial situation and bringing that to other people. I know one of Elena's missions has always been helping other families find their financial footing and find their financial health. When doTERRA came out with their program Free to Give, I think it was about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now, this was something she really, really embraced and has taken this mission out into her team and has really changed the lives of so many people, not only from a health standpoint, but a financial standpoint as well. She is an accomplished author, a dynamic speaker, and without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to Elena Yordan. So thank you for joining us, Elena. And, I guess I have to unmute you. I apologize. 1 second. This is where it gets a little tricky. Oops. There we go. No? Oh, there you go. You should be unmuted now. Thanks. Thanks for your patience.
So, yes. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I really appreciate it, Carrie. Carrie and I have worked together for a long time, and for those of you who have been on this Zoom many, many weeks, Carrie's been doing this, running this literally for years. You're an extremely lucky group, this is a gift that Carrie's giving to all of you every single week. And I know she comes up with unique information. We've worked together for years and years. And Carrie's background, as you know, was in academia. And I love the way she has a way of expressing herself and really has created such a beautiful forum for all of you, not only here, but on Facebook. So it's a pleasure for me to be able to be on here tonight and to be able to talk to you a little bit about what happened to me and how did this, I don't know, this rank advancement come to pass. So I see a lot of familiar names on the call. So I just want to say hi to everyone. If I've met you before, I'm so happy that you're on, and I'm glad that you're listening tonight. And hopefully, as in the weeks and months ahead, I'll be able to answer some questions for you. I may open it up at the end for a few questions if you'd like. About 4.5 years ago, many of you know, I joined doTERRA. I had worked with another oil company, and so I came to this company with some oil knowledge. But really not a team at all. I started at zero, just like all of you. So I left my former team behind, came to doTERRA and began to talk to people and enroll them and really try to figure out how is this going to work for me. The one thing that I did learn right away was that the most important thing about helping people to join your organization or helping them to want to be part of your team is to really follow up with them. And follow-up can be anything from a phone call to a text message. It can be dropping something off at someone's house. But that idea of constant follow-up, that's been sort of a thread that's been woven through my organization really right from the beginning. And I pride myself on doing the best follow-up that I possibly can. And it's not perfect, certainly, and I have my good moments and my bad, but I think that's really the key to helping your organization to grow and to kind of bind together as a team. The other thing that I think you really need to do when you're trying to rank advance, and this is something that I've committed myself to doing, is organizing yourself, really focusing on your organization. So each Sunday night, I try to get together, gather up my calendar, and maybe make a few phone calls. Sometimes I'll do it on Saturday. I don't want to disturb people on Sunday at home if that's their Sabbath, and or even Sunday or Saturday, trying to make accommodations for different people, making sure that I'm catching them at a time when they are willing to talk and able to talk. But I'm planning my week ahead, and I'm looking at my calendar. And if someone says to me, I can meet you on Wednesday, or they say, I can't meet you on Wednesday, I'm looking 2 weeks ahead, and I'm always filling in those individual events, meeting with individuals, setting up events for myself, and helping my team also to join them in events, especially if they're just starting out. One of the things that I love to do actually is to go to bigger events. I've mentioned this a lot of times in public forums. I will go to my local newspaper. I know many of you live in small towns. I live in a fairly small town in New Jersey, and a population 10,000. And we have a local newspaper, and it comes out once a week. At the back of the newspaper, there are always different events that are going on, whether it's a local seniors group or a garden club or a veterans organization, many of them, sometimes the library. They have different events that are going on. If you see that there's a speaker that was, they're having a speaker this month, you can pick up the phone and feel free to call them and say, hey, are you looking for any speakers in the future? I'm available to speak about, and then give them some idea of what it is you're able to speak about. Whether it's just a basic essential oils class, or perhaps if you're speaking to a religious group, you can do oils of the Bible or historical oils. There are many different ways that you can do presentations for different groups. Try to choose a group that you think you're going to meld well with. I love to look actually at garden club listings this time of year now in winter. If you're dialing in now from the eastern United States, actually most of the United States is in winter right now, except maybe parts of Florida or the deep south. Gardeners can't garden right now, so they have a little bit of free time on their hands. They can't plant, they can't weed, they're really indoors, and maybe they're reading their garden catalogs, getting ready for spring. But they may also just be very interested in listening to a speaker who has something to say about nature and essential oils and plants, and where essential oils come from. So that's kind of a fun tip. I've spoken to actually many garden clubs, and can be a really interesting and lively event if you can book yourself for a garden club. So having said that, I love to really fill up my calendar the week ahead. So small events and large, and I'm constantly looking at my calendar. Is my calendar full? If it's not full, I should be making more calls. And I'm making calls usually every other day or a couple of days in advance. If I see there's a free moment, then I might go back and try to backfill. If somebody I haven't spoken to, somebody to get in touch with, hey, are you available? Could you grab a coffee? Could I come to your house? Could we meet somewhere? So I'm always trying to fill in those events. I think that's really key. The other thing that I try to make sure that I'm doing on a regular basis is enrolling. So the basis of this business really is one of sharing your oils, enrolling others, and then helping them to do the same. That's really the 3 steps that are key to this business. I was top enroller the month that I made Blue Diamond, and that was in November. So I made Blue Diamond actually last month. And I've said to a couple of you already, I shouldn't be top enroller as Blue Diamond. You should be top enroller, because when your organization is a little bit smaller, or you're just starting out, it's actually easier for you to find people and to have a warm market. I've virtually gone through my whole warm market, and I think Carrie would probably say the same thing. I'm constantly meeting people. I get tons of referrals, but that idea that I'm talking to, I don't know, my mother or my sister or my cousin, they've all been talked to already, and probably some of them are saying, oh my gosh, I can't stand this woman. How many times is she going to talk to me? So if I've talked to you already, that's about it. I've got to go on to the next group of people. So force yourself to be top enroller. Top enroller, last month was actually 22 personal enrollments for me, and not every enrollment was with a Diamond Kit. So don't be thinking, oh my gosh, that's craziness. A lot of them were smaller orders, but the idea is that I was getting out there and really talking to people. When I first made Diamond, actually, I made Diamond after I was in doTERRA after about 7 months. I made it in January. Some of you are looking at January thinking it can't be as good as November, because November was a BOGO month. That's really not true. January is a big launching time. People begin to think that they want to have, get involved with their New Year's resolutions. Usually doTERRA runs something called New Year, New You. And that's a great way to really jumpstart your team. Begin to think of people that not necessarily, we think of January, we think of weight loss, but maybe it's not weight loss. Maybe it's just a getting healthy, or maybe it's starting to exercise, or maybe it's changing a habit that they wish that they didn't have. All of those things are great ways to kind of transform, help a friend to transform themselves, or maybe you want to transform yourself. But that idea that January can be a really powerful month is, I think, also a good thing that we have to keep in mind. December is turning into a really good and very wonderful month because of the frankincense promotion. Don't give up. I want to talk a little bit about not giving up and actually what happens when bad things happen to us. So about 2 years ago, I actually had a series of family, what I'll call them as family misfortunes, including illnesses and surgeries, and my 87-year-old mother coming to live with me, and some distant relatives kind of moving in unexpectedly. It was a very tumultuous time. And while at the time, I don't know if I could really understand all of the ramifications of what was going on, I realized that there were many, many things, many moving parts that I just had to let drop. And some of those moving parts had to do with my business. Physically, mentally, emotionally, it was very trying. I put on weight. I was not very happy at the time. I was under a lot of stress. And what I realized when the whole episode had basically passed, and it took a while, almost a year really, I was in a really deep hole. And the hole was actually so deep, and I said this actually at the live event that we were in, that I couldn't really see my way out of it. I needed to kind of straighten up some of the people that were, get back and talk to people that I hadn't talked to actually in ages. And I need to really look carefully at what was happening in my team. The team held on, thankfully, for that several month period when I was completely out. And then even for that next year when I was trying to figure out which way is this going? How does this work? How am I going to survive doing this? We all go through difficult periods. About a year ago at Leadership, Emily Wright actually said from the stage, she actually asked at the Leadership, how many of you have had, are qualifying for your diamond or blue diamond or other rank with someone completely new, somebody that you hadn't qualified with in the beginning? And almost every hand in the room went up. So what does that mean? It means that people's lives change. Our businesses are like a growing organism. They can grow or die or fade because of our own actions. And it's important for us to realize that just like we can have bumps in the road, so are the members of our organization. I'll actually tell you a really good story. One of the women that I had worked with earlier on, I actually saw tonight after about a year's hiatus. And she has 3 little boys. She lives right near me. And I hadn't seen her for a while. She had gone through some troubles at home and with her kids and so on. And she came over tonight actually because she wanted to pick up a bottle of On Guard that she was bringing to a friend. And I said to her, how are you? And she actually came in with a beautiful plant for me. And she said, I just want you to know how grateful I am that you never gave up on me. And she said, I know that I haven't really been working that hard. And I know that my business has kind of been floundering, but I just want you to know how much I appreciate that you've kept reminding me and kept sending me things and kept me in the loop and never really doubted me and just kind of, and never dropped me. And I don't know if I did it on purpose or by accident, but I really felt like sometimes we feel so nervous. We feel like we don't want to reach out to the other person. Maybe they don't like us, or maybe they think that we're weird, or maybe we're too pushy. But it's usually not about us at all. It's usually about them and something that's going on in their lives. I have 4 team members right now who are struggling with actually it's cancer in their family. One is a husband, a mother, a father, and just the idea that maybe I can send them a text message from time to time and say, I'm thinking of you, or I'm praying for you. I'm certainly not asking them what's going on with their doTERRA team, but I want to keep in contact with them so at least they think that somebody cares. I do feel like I'm very, very connected and that I'm extremely blessed to be part of this community. And whenever I've had any sort of a struggle, I've had so many people reach out to me, including when my husband was sick. That idea that we really are supported and this is a team, and the idea that each and every one of us as an individual, when I look at the names on this phone right now, or I look at the Zoom class, I'm just amazed at where you all are and where you're coming from. It's really gratifying for me to see just little snippets, and I know that this will go out and be rebroadcast later on in a different way. So the last thing actually I want you to think about is, so when you're in that hole, if something happens to you, what do? You have to begin to sort of, how do we eat the elephant bite by bite? So you need to begin to look at, and really honestly, what is it that's not going right? Am I not enrolling? Am I not following up? Am I not keeping in contact with my team members? Be honest with yourself. It's like an examination of conscience, if you will. That idea that when we do fall into a hole, or we're not doing exactly what we should be, we don't get down on ourselves. We need to get off our own back a little bit, because criticizing yourself is never going to help you. But the idea that you really want to just kind of break down, what is it that's not happening? Why is my group not succeeding? So if you are not seeing the success, perhaps maybe you're just starting out and you're not seeing the success, then I want you to really make your list of contacts and begin to contact those people and begin to enroll them. That's going to grow your team. If you already have a team and you're an expert enroller, and I see a couple of you on here are expert enrollers, then look at how your follow-up is going. Am I following up with people? Could I do this in a more systematic way? And if follow-up and enrolling is not your issue, then maybe organization is your issue. Maybe you need to be doing things in a more systematic way. Look at those 3 points. Now, when I was able to actually bring those 3 threads together and kind of weave them into a really fine braid, that's when I began to see the team begin to move ahead. And the team began to move towards Blue Diamond because they wanted it for themselves. It was more like they were pushing up from the bottom, and not so much pushing me, but just pushing up because they were really desiring another really big rank advancement. And the higher your rank advancements are, they do get a little bit tougher, I have to say. It's a little bit easier when you're rank advancing perhaps from director to executive, or consultant to director. Those rank advancements can come a little bit faster. As they get a little bit bigger, or the titles get a little bit broader, then it does become a little harder. But that idea of focus, organization, enrollment, and follow-up are something that you really never give up. You never want to start managing your team. We're not managers. We're all independent, and we all really want to keep following up and doing the things that we need to do. So Blue Diamond was not so much a matter of, it was a matter of me stretching to reach the rank, but it was also a matter of the team really owning that this was their time to begin to push up and begin to do the things that were necessary to help with the rank advancement. I will say, and I said this in public at the Ridgewood meeting, that I was actually very far away from Blue Diamond when I first looked at it at the beginning of the month. And as I focused on enrollments, and I focused on some of the bigger kits, and I focused on going out there, I was able to continuously close the gap throughout the month until I was really within shooting distance. Then I went out to the team and I did one last promotion, and that's what finally brought me over the edge. But the idea of rank advancing shouldn't be a scary one. It's taking those same steps and doing the same thing again and again, and keeping that sort of positive attitude. If it doesn't come this month, it's going to come next month. But I'm going to keep going for it, and I'm going to keep striving for it. Find yourself a mentor. If it's not me or Carrie or someone else, find any mentor that you can find. Look up to that person. Try to really listen to what their message is, and keep searching, because you're going to find the answer to your issues. So I want to thank you all for listening. I've talked really long enough. I hope that answers enough of your questions. If you have some questions, or Carrie wants to open it up, I can take a few questions at the end. But thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate being on the call.
Thank you so much, Elena. That was amazing and wonderful. And actually, if I may, I'd love to kick off with a question, which is something we don't really talk about too much on this call, and that is when you go about trying to find a mentor, what kind of criteria did you look at? Did you look particularly for a certain set of skills that matched well with yourself, or were you looking for criteria that was out of the box? Like, how did you just start that journey?
Well, I think I did a couple of things. I looked for things where I was weak. So if I had a weakness, like if I don't know, if I was falling down on the job with follow-up, I looked for someone who was doing really good follow-up. And there's so many calls out there now that you can listen to. doTERRA runs 1 million calls. Private mentoring session, but you can go through that leadership magazine and you can really get a lot of information. And if you read it carefully, look for the person who's talking about follow-up, or look for the person who's talking about enrollment, or the person who talks about being, I don't know, if you're a single mom, find the single mom. Every single quarter, those magazines are chock full of information and what are going for you and blazing the trail. So for wherever you are, and I'm looking at the call now, those are our mentors. So the presidential diamonds and the double diamonds, they're the mentors for all of us. But somebody who's just even one level above you, you can be a mentor. And did I lose you? No?
No, here we are. Sorry.
Mentoring is, we're good?
Yes, we're good. Sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think that's great, because we don't really talk about that as much as we should. That's a really important key part of anybody's development, for certainly. And you're a perfect example. That's so exciting. Questions. Does anyone have questions? You can go ahead and type them in the chat. It probably is a little bit challenging to unmute yourself with so many people on the call. I think it's just better if we go ahead and type that in. I'll give everybody just a few minutes in case there's something you want to ask Elena. I know many of you were able to join her live for her beautiful presentation that she gave to us at the leadership training with Justin Harrison and Nick Kilpack and their incredible wives, who joined them for that as well. So see if we have any questions come in. Of course, if you can't think of your question right now, one of the things we like to do is actually post those questions when we post this video on Essential Conversation. And one of the things we like to ask everybody to do, if you learned something or something inspired you, or you want to share a tidbit with someone else on your team, please go ahead and post a comment, tag somebody that you want to hear this information. And then at the end of the week, our amazing Pat McKenna will go through your comments and pick a winner, and we'll give out some really incredible prize. Hopefully something that you have on your holiday gift list, and maybe we can get that out to you. I don't see any questions coming. Oh, here we go. We got some questions coming in. So the first one is, if you only have 30 minutes on a particular day, what one business building activity will you always do? So if you only have 30 minutes on a particular day, what one business building activity will you always do?
I'll usually send some sort of a message, either asking for a meeting, so trying to set up a meeting, or a follow-up, so calling or sending messages. I'm constantly sending messages, and I feel like those 30 minutes can be really super valuable. So I might check in with a couple of people that, a couple of you have, I'm sure, noticed that our deliveries have been a little bit slower because it's Christmas time. And so I'll call up someone, or I'll send a quick text message saying, hey, did you get your oils? Or are you ready to meet next week? So definitely getting in contact with people.
Awesome.
What is your advice on following up an organization? So organization and follow-up can be a whole other topic, but I'll give you a quick tip. Number one is you need some sort of a calendar that works. I make sort of a data dump of every single solitary thing that anybody says to me. And then I follow up on my phone, and I check my phone the night before. So if I have appointments tomorrow, I'll be checking tonight to make sure that I'm ready. And I always send a confirmation text message to the person that I'm meeting with saying, hey, see you tomorrow, because that gives them extra time. Maybe they've forgotten. Maybe they didn't write down the appointment. Maybe they don't know where we're meeting or what we're doing or what we're talking about. So the night before, when I see that message, that appointment for the following day, it's my sort of mental tickler to say, okay, let me send out a text message to the person I'm meeting tomorrow. Do I set office hours? Or are you always open? I am not always open, and neither should you be. I try to work from about 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Obviously, it's 8:30 now. Today I worked, steadily till about 7 p.m., but I do not take text messages, phone messages. I don't answer emails after about 9:30 or so. I want to send the message to the team that they have a normal, regular life. I also try to spend family time on Sunday. I go to church on Sunday, and I want to make sure that I allow my team to also have time to go to whatever services that they choose to, and they have time with their family. Now, I've heard people say, but it's easier to just answer back. It is easier to just answer back, but it sets up a whole dynamic that is not healthy. And honestly, if I get a text message at midnight, and sometimes I do, or an email message, unless it says, I don't know, your house is on fire, which then I think I would see it, especially if I was in it, I don't answer. I answer the following morning. That's a good question, Christy Lily. Anyone else? And I know, Carrie, you do the same thing. I know you have certain, I don't want to call it set business hours, because our businesses can sometimes be flexible, but not answering text messages and email messages and phone calls at midnight. If you get a midnight phone call, it should be only an emergency. And that would be like EMS or the ambulance is coming, not someone calling to ask you if you have lavender oil.
Yes, and actually one of the cool things that most phones will allow you to do now is actually set office hours. So you can actually set your phone to just dump your phone calls right into a voicemail. You don't even hear it ring anymore. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
that helps. I think we have another question coming in.
Coral, Coral asks, are online classes effective? I'd like to reach people long distance, but I'm not sure how closing will work. Actually, they can be super effective. I wouldn't have this many people on the call. I would try to keep it a little bit smaller, but yes, absolutely. And actually, my daughter works in sales, and she does most of her calls online. And she kind of has a script set up, ready to go. So you know, what are you going to cover? How many minutes you want to stay on? You want to practice a little bit before you actually get online. Otherwise, you could get nervous or not have the materials that you need. Keep a glass of water in case you start choking right next to you. But yeah, online classes can be super effective. Who's an experienced oil user on with you, so that in case you get stumped, you can kind of tag team each other.
Excellent. Well,
okay.
In the spirit of keeping good time and respecting everyone else's time as well, and giving everyone the permission to put their businesses to bed, and also to thank you so much for your time, we're going to end the call. But again, we really want you to listen to this information a couple of times. We're going to record this. I know Elaine is going to be sharing this with her team additionally. And take some time. That's the great thing about a recording. You can listen to this again. You can take notes. You can listen to part of it, put it into practice. And you too can achieve this level of success if this is part of your plan for 2018. We know that if we write down our goals, we can achieve them. And Elena talked a lot about the importance of planning and writing things down and following up, right? Following up is so important. So we hope you'll take this really great advice, and we hope you'll all follow in her footsteps, and we hope you'll reach out to her as a mentor as well. Thank you, Elena. I really appreciate your time as always. And I know that you have a very happy holiday upon you. So we wish you and your family all the best. And we look forward to having you back in the Wednesday webinar, hopefully in the future as a presidential diamond, certainly, if not sooner. So thanks so much. You're on an amazing trajectory, and we know the sky's the limit for you and your whole team. So we're really proud of each and every one of you and very, very excited for your success. And to all of the rest of you, we just love you and appreciate everything that you do. Please join us next Wednesday. We're going to be back with another call kind of in that in-between time between the Christmas holiday and the New Year's holiday, bringing you some great information. So thanks again, everyone, and we'll wish you all, if you celebrated, a very blessed and Merry Christmas. And we'll see everybody next week. God bless. Take care.
Bye-bye.